Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Steve Haruch. We're talking about his book, Readings from the New Nashville, How a Sleepy Southern Town Became Its City. Steve, we're talking about the importance of tourism in Nashville and how it's grown so much. But over the last 4 or 5 years in particular, there seems to be an increasing public unhappiness in Nashville about all the tourists being there, particularly down to the downtown Broadway area. They don't like the scooters, they don't like all manner of the party vehicles, they don't like the bachelorette parties, they don't like the sidewalk vendors that are there. Mayor Cooper seems to be ready to run a portion of his re-election campaign based on sort of more restrictions about that. Are we getting into a dichotomy where we love all the money they bring to town, all the notoriety they bring to town, and people visiting here, but a lot of people don't want to come downtown anymore because they don't want to have to put up with all the things that go with it?
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, I feel like anytime someone comes to visit, I tell them to avoid downtown, unless you are interested in the following things, which you just mentioned. I do think that I do think there is increasingly, maybe not hostility, but definitely a feeling that, you know, this has really gotten out of control down there, and maybe it's not worth the tax revenue. Maybe we could live with a little less tourist revenue if downtown could be a little less wild.
Another major area of town that's likely to undergo major change is the East Bank and all those areas up through Dickerson Road. You got the new Oracle development coming over there. And now you've got Mayor Cooper talking about not only a new stadium over in the East Bank, but also bringing over the Tennessee Performing Arts Center there, which is probably going to have to move out of downtown building they got right now because the state wants to redevelop that particular area. Also, he wants to sit, the mayor's talking again about buying the Phillips Metals property over there. If you go over there in about 10 years, you won't know what we used to be there. It'll look like a whole new city. Yeah,
I think you're right. And it's funny, when I try to explain to people what the Gulch looked like when I moved here in 2003, and say, you have to imagine that it really looked like a gulch back then. And I think you're right. I think that the way things are headed right now, the East Bank is going to be unrecognizable in a decade.
The overall projections for growth in Nashville and the surrounding area in the next 5 to 10 years just continue to accelerate. Can we handle all this with the other challenges we haven't really talked about much at this point? Affordable housing, homeless services, and we did mention briefly traffic, but an awful lot going on, and perhaps going on faster than a lot of people can comprehend.
Yeah, I think it is happening so fast that I'm not sure that we can keep up, and I'm not sure what it looks like to even begin that process. It kind of feels like, you know, maybe 10 years ago, the cake was getting too big for the plate, and we started asking the question, should we invest in a larger plate? And we haven't really invested in a larger plate, and we just keep adding layers to the cake, you know?
It seems to me every 4 years in Nashville, while I've been here, we have this metro election for mayor, vice mayor, and all 40 members of the council. That always starts a discussion of what kind of city are we, as well as what kind of city we want to be in the future. You expect 2023 is going to be a lot like that?
I really do. I really do. I mean, I feel that you know, on the show, This is Nashville, I feel that from our guests a lot. This question of what kind of city do we want to be, and how will our actions, how will our budgeting, how will our spending priorities really reflect that? You know, Noah saying that they wanted a moral budget from the council this year. Those kinds of questions, I think, are only getting louder.
Is there concern that while the growth may continue in the donut areas, maybe we're going to see such a pullback on that inside Davidson County, inside Nashville, that we're going to become sort of a poor second cousin to what's going on in the suburban counties?
I'm not sure if that's the case. I mean, it's really interesting right now, and I don't think we'll know for a couple of years what the effects are of so many people who used to live inside the ring moving out because they can't afford to live here anymore, but still coming into work. That kind of push-pull, I think, is going to change the dynamics of the surrounding counties some. I'm really interested to see where that goes.
It appears the city is about to say no, or will be saying no to hosting a Republican National Convention. You mentioned we have to sort of decide, maybe you think, that we have to, what things we want to do, what things we don't want to do. Is there a downside for not bringing the Republican convention here? Does it send a message to other people that we don't want people to come here and have their meetings? Or is it because conventions are just gotten to be like the Olympics? They're just a little hard to handle in any city.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know really what the downside of this will be if we end up not hosting that convention in particular. I mean, the convention business, as you know, when they built the convention center, it was a bit of a risk, and people weren't sure if that was really going to be able to sustain, and it has. So I don't know that one convention, even though it's a highly visible one, is really going to make or break the city on that front.
So where do you see is the next big other challenge that we haven't talked about at this point? We haven't talked much about race relations. There's been some off and on things, particularly with the police shootings, yet the community's also put together a community oversight board. Are we making progress there, or is it kind of up and down all at the same time?
I'd like to think that we're making progress in the sense that I think that we are having more honest conversations than we have in the past. A lot of people that I talk to feel some optimism that can be that we can move forward in a good way. But I do think that there are decades of racial inequality in the city that haven't really been addressed and are beginning to be addressed, but that's going to take some time.
Perhaps the next big test again will come over on the East Bank. A lot of people over there already we're seeing some relocations, dislocations from that. So people are going to have to figure out how we deal with that, because most of the people that will be dislocated over there and moved are probably going to be people of color, black and brown folks.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, it's you mentioned the Dickerson Pike corridor. It seems to happen again and again that a community that has been under-resourced for decades suddenly it gets some investment just in time for almost everyone there to probably be priced out or forced out by the new development coming in. And so I think that's an area where people are feeling very pessimistic, because it seems like that cycle is repeating again. In some ways, it's the new version of what happened on Jefferson Street when the interstate went through.
Steve Haruch, thank you so much for being with us. Your book is very thought-provoking. It's not only current history, it's also a good look back at recent history to sort of put that in some perspective. Good luck with your book, and good luck particularly with your radio show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hope we have you on again in the future.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get into politics in the meantime, you can go to News Out of our website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you here next time. Goodbye.